Hello, and welcome. And hopefully, we are broadcasting correctly. And let me just double check my headphones here. I think that's better. Yeah, sounds better to me anyway. Welcome. I just want to double check my settings here to make sure that we are running properly here. And I thank all of you for showing up half an hour early. I know it's surprising, but yeah, we have a family's birthday dinner reservations to go to. Let me go ahead and hide this. And so I was just like, oh, well, why don't, and we unexpectedly, our appointment that we usually have, our standing appointment that happens every Friday, was canceled. So I was just like, why don't I just do the show a half an hour early, and that way I can still show up to the birthday celebration on time instead of having to come later. So that's what we're doing. So I guess I couldn't not do the show, especially since it is a spooky story time episode, which is a yearly Halloween tradition here on the live stream. So, and I actually drove myself a little bit nuts earlier because of the move, which, happened months ago at this point. I'm still looking for stuff, and I thought I was smarter than I was, and I thought I had taken it out already. And no, I didn't. So I had to use my Lenormand cards to look for it. I was able to find it. So we are good for the spooky story time. But Mr. Tarot by Hilary was saying, oh, well, you may have to just replay it from last year. And I'm just like, no, no, we are not doing that. So I'm going to put on my blue nose, and we will do from the Smoked Urban Decay palette. Let me see. I can never remember which color it is. Evidence. The name of the blue that I use for my blue nose is Evidence. And I will put it on. I will put it on right now. And I will be back with my blue nose in about 26 seconds. And then I will do the introductions. All right. Be right back. All right. I am back. Is this enough blue nose for you guys? Because I am going to have to take it off in when we get ready. I think so. A little bit more. Maybe more up here. Yes, I think that's blue enough. I think that is indeed a blue nose. And this brush does not go with this palette, so I will just put the brush separately. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for Blue Nose Witch story time. So let me do introductions first. And Katie is here. Apparently I'm looking good. All right, good. I actually have to, all right, so I know that the Book of Face is working. Let me just go quickly check the tube of you. Make sure that's working before we continue. And I'm going to do the quickest of quicks, astro-weather from Teresa Reed's Astrobiz Digest. And then you're going to dive into Spooky Story Time for the Blue Nose Witch, which is what I read every single year. It's relatively quick because it is about... no page numbers. Oh, wait. 47 pages. All right. The tube of you is working well. And I see Jenny is tuning in on the two of you. Okay, great. So everything's working, right? Good, 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 good. Okay. So yeah, really quickly. Aw, thank you. You look cute on Tube of You as well. Thank you. Good, 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 good. Okay, well, anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Tarot by Hilary Live. I am your hostess with the mostest, Hilary of tarotbyhilary.com, professional tarot reader and EFT tapping practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. This is something that I believe wholeheartedly. I firmly believe. I say it, at the start and the end of every live stream. And I just got really distracted because the moon is coming up over the treetops, and it's, oh my God, it's so gorgeous. I'm getting distracted by the moon, as any good witch around Halloween should. She gorgeous. She's showing off tonight. Anyway, so each week I do this live every Friday night at 6:30 or 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we're doing this a little bit earlier because I have dinner plans, birthday party plans that came up unexpectedly, and also I had a cancellation happen in my schedule. So I was just like, let me do this a half an hour early so I can still do my spooky story time and attend the party as well. And maybe I'll attend the party with my blue nose intact. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. No one will understand why except you guys. But for those who know, you know. So normally what we do on this live stream is I will start with the astrology from Teresa Reed, from her Astro Biz Digest. We dive into a topic, we do the mid-episode reading, and then we end with the weekend forecast. In this case, we're not going to have time for the mid-episode reading. So for those of you who are here for that, I'm sorry. You're just going to have to tune in next week, and we'll do it next week, because spooky story time is the main crux of the episode, of this episode. It happens every year. I reread this every year. This is a book from my childhood. It's actually a book from, I guess, my sister's childhood. I guess it's a book from, people in the 50s, because the original, let me see, the printing history on this, the Holiday House edition, was published in September of 1956. 12 printings through August 1980. And this is the Bantam edition that was produced in June of 1983. Yeah. So this book's been around for a really long time. So this is the 80s-tastic version. And it is a book by Margaret Embry. And so when we go through this book, I will always show you like the illustrations in it. And it gets like, some of it is a little bit, dated, shall we say. But I read it every year. It's one of my favorite things. And the reason why I put my blue nose on is because it's the Blue-Nosed Witch. This is about a young witch called Blanche, whose power is a glowing blue nose. And you'll find out more about her as we read the book together. So yeah, that's the topic of tonight's episode. So let us dive in really, really quickly to the astrology from Teresa Reed, the Tarot Lady, first and foremost. And let me pull that up, because what is it? Full moon and eclipse season. Like it's hopping. There's up leveling going on, I think. And also, oh gosh, what was it that I was just seeing? So I pulled the Tower card today, as the card of the day. And Benevolent Corvus, Sophia, also had the Tower card come up in her reading for today. But we both interpreted it separately, but similarly, as up leveling, and like things are popping off. Like good things are happening, things are popping off, and things are happening very quickly. And it's almost as if your manifestations are finally paying dividends. So don't be surprised. But I think that it also does have to do with eclipse season. So it's also Scorpio season. So let's just do this. Scorpio season is here on the 23rd. So that already occurred when the sun begins its annual tour through this mysterious sign. During the 4 weeks the sun drifts through Scorpio, you can make headway on financial affairs. Schedule an appointment with your accountant to get a leg up for tax season. If your budget or bookkeeping is a mess, use this month to straighten that out. This transit is also ideal for sensitive conversations, top secret projects, and clandestine meetings. If you're cooking up holiday surprises for your community, this energy is also lit for that. Sagittarius season starts on November 22nd. So from October 23rd to November 21st, we are in Scorpio season. And I've already been doing some little surprises for you guys, including my interview with Lizzie, and that I gave you a little sweet little preview last week. So I'm going to be really happy to feature that in November. So that's a very, I guess, Scorpio season secret, top secret VIP experience, I guess. And then, okay, the last eclipse of the season happens on the 28th. So that's tomorrow, with the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. This day could bring an unexpected change in revenue. A client could bail or get fired, or a project may complete. You may also receive news about a source of income that changes your plans for the rest of 2023. Try not to stress about whatever is happening. By the time the smoke clears, you'll see where you stand and where your next big opportunity lies. Now, eclipses can be really scary things, and I get that. And I know that there are some people a little bit freaked out about the eclipse season that's happening right now. Like, people are really feeling this eclipse already. I think that people have been feeling that energy all week. And it's like, what is it, that song from West Side Story, like something's coming, I guess, I think it is. I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen West Side Story, but it's just like something's coming, like that energy, or that song, or those lyrics. That's what keeps on running through my head when I'm thinking about this particular eclipse. So if you've been feeling that, like, welcome to the club. A lot of us have been feeling that energy. So specifics: Friday, October 27th, that's today. Friday has the Aries moon zipping along, providing the gas to go as fast or as far as you want on any project. This could be an excellent day for developing new marketing campaigns or products. A moon Chiron conjunction at 10 a.m. is terrific for inspirational leadership. A passionate speech delivered now can win hearts or change minds. Today is a power day for Aries and a weekday for Libra. So Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is intense, like we were talking about, and probably not great for business. It begins well enough with the moon entering Taurus at 7:44 a.m., your best lunation to handle financial affairs, invest in your business, or secure business deals. At 8:40 a.m., the moon sextiles Saturn, which is great for any of those activities. But everything goes south when Mars opposes Jupiter at 12:03 p.m., a gnarly aspect that leads to extravagance, wasted resources, lawsuits, and conflict. It's also problematic for travel. It will linger all weekend, causing havoc. The lunar eclipse happens at 4:24 p.m., so we already talked about that. Mercury opposes Jupiter at 11:44 p.m., another harsh aspect associated with travel woes and communication breakdowns. This will also hold court all weekend, which could hamper your plans. So Sunday isn't much better. The moon opposes Mercury and Mars starting at 3 a.m., adding stubborn fuel to ongoing fires. The Mercury touches down on Mars at 10:22 a.m., which may be decent for aggressive marketing, but it also could bring out drama, conflict, and misunderstandings. Again, it's not going away anytime fast, so it could affect the whole day. Two sweet aspects occur in the evening on Sunday: a Moon-Venus trine at 5:33 p.m., followed by a Moon-Uranus conjunction at 8:36 p.m. This duo creates the perfect backdrop for group activities or gatherings. However, with all that icky energy floating in the atmosphere from the other aspects, you'll need to remain on high alert for problems. If you see trouble coming up, nip that in the business bud. Both days, Saturday and Sunday, are power days for Taurus and weekdays for Scorpio. Woo, that's a lot of energy. A lot of energy. So what I usually do is take questions on how was your Monday? How was your Tuesday? Let's take a little look-see, but we don't have time for that shit. We don't have that time for that today. So what I would recommend to you is pick up a copy of the AstroBiz Digest for yourself, and that way you can take a look-see for yourself. Let me go ahead and show that and drop that link into the chat so that you have it. Hold, please. So this is where I'm quoting from, the AstroBiz Digest, for the big aspects, and then also for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's not all bad news with the eclipse. It's just really, really intense energy right now. So let me go ahead and show that on screen. thetarotleader.com/AstroBiz Digest is your place to get that information. Please and thank you. All right. Now then, let's get to spooky story time. So every year I read this book. I read it out loud. Join along. Follow along with me. And I am like looking at the time, making sure that I'm going, you know, not too fast, but whatever. Let me see if we have any little background here. Oh, and while I'm doing this, please make sure to follow. Make sure to follow me. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to click that notification bell so that you can be notified of the times that I go live, the times that I put up new videos. I'm constantly putting up videos about tarot and about tapping, EFT tapping. So please make sure that you're following me wherever it is that you're watching this video. Make sure that you're clicking the bell. And then also, if you want to contribute monetarily, first of all, sharing this video with your friends or any of the videos that I create, very, very helpful. So please, I would encourage you to do that. And then if you can contribute, you can either book a reading with me. I would really appreciate it if you book a reading with me, whether it's a tarot reading, tapping session, or you can contribute by going to paypal.me/tarot by Hilary NY. And you can always, you know, do any kind of donation to continue this here live stream. I live stream every Friday night, 6:30 or 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's not going to change anytime soon. And I've been doing this for over 4 years now. And I really appreciate everyone that's contributed, shared, liked, done all of that. I appreciate it more than you know. PayPal.me/tarot by Hilary NY, or you can book a reading at tarotbyhilary.com. Please and thank you. All right. Now then, let me see if I can do this. I'm sure there is a little like spooky something or other. Let me see. I've got some that I've created before. Did they not do like a spooky? Guess not. I can do this though. That's nice. Let's do that. Why not? All right. It's time. Spooky story time. The Blue Nose Witch by Margaret Embry. Are we ready? Are we ready? Just give me a hell yeah in the chat. Let me know that you're ready. I swear, I know we're going to be like walking out the door to go to this dinner party, and Mr. Tarot by Hilary is going to look at me and be like, why do you still have that on your nose? And I'll be like, oh. All right, Jenny's ready. Jenny's ready. That is good enough for me. All right. The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry. The pictures, the illustrations in here are by Carl Rose. The front cover image is not by Carl Rose, I don't believe. The cover illustration is by Les Morrill. And and Katie is coming in here hot with the pumpkins and the emojis and everything, also saying ready. Fantastic. All right. By the way, one of my favorite parts about this book is the bottom corner where it has the little like flip book aspect there. Love that. Okay. For Mary, who originally owned Brockett. Not more than 4 or 5 Halloweens ago, there was a very young witch named Blanche who owned a broom, a black kitten called Brockett, and a bright blue nose. She belonged to a very special scurry of witches, scurry number 13, known in the best witch circles all over the country for its beautiful flight formation. The Grand Madame, who had been leader of the club for as long as any of them could remember, flew center front. She used a vacuum cleaner instead of a broom, and when she gunned her motor, it sounded as exciting as a fire siren. On the far right was Minnie Max waving her blood-red fingernails in the dark. They really did shine like rubies. And on the far left was Blanche's best friend, Josephine, who had long fluorescent teeth that gleamed like stars. In between and a little behind flew the 9 rather ordinary witches who were only expected to follow the Grand Madame's lead and cackle with horrid glee at appropriate times. At last came Blanche, usually far, far behind. If it hadn't been for her marvelous blue nose that she could turn on and off at will, she wouldn't have been allowed in scurry number 13 at all. Blanche was always late. She had good intentions and a dependable alarm clock, but somehow she never could get started any place on time. Something had always happened at the last minute to delay her. Brockett, the black kitten, would run away, or Blanche would have misplaced her broom, or she would have to finish her comic, or have just one more piece of bread and peanut butter and honey. You see, said Minnie Max to Josephine, Blanche is still just a baby, and she ought to be sent back to scurry number 2.5. Then she'd have to ride a whisk broom, not go any higher than the tops of the poplar trees, and never stay out after midnight with the rest of the grown-ups. If she's late one more time, I'm going to report her to the Grand Madame. I know Blanche is young and scatterbrained, agreed Josephine, but don't bother the Grand Madame with it. I'll take care of her. I promise she'll be on time for our next flight meeting. That's Halloween night, Minnie Max warned. Sharp at midnight, we're taking off from Dead Man's Bluff. Afterwards, if we make a good showing against the moon, there'll be dancing and chanting and a pot of brew. You better see that Blanche is at least a half an hour early. I'll have her there on time, promised Josephine, even if I have to set her alarm an hour ahead. As it turned out, Josephine switched the clock ahead, not just 1 hour, but 2, just for good measure. That probably would have been all right, but Blanche herself, as she was getting ready for bed at noon the day of Halloween, had the same good idea. She wound her clock and set it ahead an extra hour and a half, and then just a little more in case Brockett would be hard to find. So here's Josephine, right down here. And then here's Blanche up here getting ready. But when the alarm shrieked that evening, Brockett for once was perched demurely on the bedpost right where she belonged, her fur newly licked smooth. Blanche yawned and brushed the straw out of her hair and rolled out of bed without her usual dilly-dallying. She washed her face and hands and polished up her blue nose. Her broom was standing neatly behind the kitchen door. Brockett hopped on eagerly without having to be coaxed. The clock said 12:15, midnight. Actually, of course, it was scarcely 8:30 when they padlocked the front door and poked the key under the mat. "It's not very dark out," said Blanche to the kitten as they soared over town. "We're probably much, much too early. Wonder if anyone is there yet." Blanche looked down below and saw a strange procession marching along the sidewalk. She dived lower for a better view. There was quite a tall witch in the lead. "Why, that looks like Josephine. But whatever is she doing with that crowd? And walking? Maybe her broom broke down." There were 3 ghosts, a pirate, a cowboy carrying a 6-shooter and a lighted pumpkin, and a gypsy with spangled earrings. Blanche settled down on the sidewalk and fell in step behind the tall witch. At once she saw it wasn't Josephine. "Oh, excuse me," said Blanche. "I thought you were somebody I know." The tall witch turned and stared. She had a rubbery look to her face, and her hair was stringy and obviously false. Josephine was always so careful about her hair. So there's Blanche looking down, and there's the procession. "Hey!" shouted one of the ghosts. "Where did you get that blue light on your nose? That's really neat." The little pirate, pulling at Blanche's skirts, pleaded, "Let me see it. Let me see it." "How does it work?" asked the cowboy, setting down his pumpkin. So Blanche showed them. She made her nose glow bright and then fade palely away, then bright again and wink off and on like a turn signal. "Gee," said the cowboy, "that's swell. I didn't see anything like that over at the dime store. Where did you buy it?" "Let me try it. Let me try it," begged the pirate, pulling again. "I didn't buy it," Blanche said primly, "and I can't take it off and let you try it. But I'll do it again for you if you'll quit yanking my dress." "Leave her alone, Butch," said the tall witch, giving the pirate a shove. Turning to Blanche, she explained, "He's my little brother. I told Mother he was too young to go out Halloweening with us, but he always has to tag along." "Oh, that's all right," Blanche said generously. "I don't mind letting him see if he wants to." She leaned down so Butch could feel her nose carefully. "Hey, if you show us how the switch works, I'll give you one of my jelly donuts," the biggest ghost offered, holding out a brown paper bag. Blanche grinned at them. "There really isn't a switch at all," she said. "It just works by concentration. I think about lighting up my nose and it begins to glow. When I want it to shine very bright, I think hard, like this." She wrinkled her forehead and squinted her eyes. The nose glowed a bright, clear blue. "See? Simple concentration." The ghost opened his bag. "That's really super," he said. "Here, have a donut." Blanche reached in eagerly. She hadn't had a jelly donut in weeks and weeks. "Where did you get these? They're wonderful," she said, chewing happily. "Over at Smith's. They have the best stuff. Last year it was caramel apples. Come along and we'll show you which house." Blanche trailed along willingly, with Butch the pirate holding firmly to her hand. "What's your name?" he asked as they walked along. "I'm Blanche," she said. "Blanche who?" Butch's sister, the tall witch, asked. "Just Blanche." "She's Blanche Witch, that's who," Butch said reasonably. The cowboy turned around mischievously. "Which witch?" And all the ghosts joined in with great glee. "Blanche Witch, that's which witch." They climbed the steps to the Smith's front door, all chanting the refrain, "Blanche Witch, that's which witch." The gypsy rang the doorbell. A man with white hair opened the door. He gaped. "But..." Candy or cake or your windows will break, they yelled at him. But you kids have all been here before, he protested. Yes, but she hasn't, they laughed, pushing Blanche in front of Mr. Smith. Her nose turns on and off, said the pirate. Show 'em. Blanche showed him obligingly. Say, that's really something, said the man. Come here, mother, and see this. A lady sitting in a rocking chair got up and came over to the door. She gave a little gasp when she saw Blanche's nose. Whatever will they think of next? These modern kids? Surely that's worth 2 donuts at least, said Mr. Smith. Hold your sack. She hasn't got one, said the pirate, who had noticed right away. Mrs. Smith bustled right off to her kitchen and returned with a brown paper bag. There now, she said, and here are 3 jelly donuts, and I put in some nuts and candy corn too, because you might not have time to go to many more houses. Thank you, ma'am, said Blanche, remembering her manners. And please, could you tell me what time it is? Her husband pulled out his pocket watch. Let's see, it's just 6.5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Just after 9 o'clock, Blanche asked, bewildered. But I thought it was nearly midnight. The time seems to be all turned around. It usually is on Halloween, laughed Mr. Smith. Anything can happen tonight. Well, good night, kids, and don't soap any windows. We won't, they shouted, racing down the steps. Good night, and thanks. They stopped at the corner and looked at each other a little uncertainly, trying to decide just what to do next. Oh, cried Blanche in a panic. I've lost my broom and my cat. The tall witch stared at her. Broom? You didn't have any broom with you. She did too, the pirate said, with a little black kitty sitting on the sweet part. I bet she left it back on Maple Street where we stopped to look at her nose, said the gypsy. Let's all walk back and help her find her stuff. The gypsy was right. The broom was exactly where Blanche had left it, leaning against a tree. Brocket was perched up in the branches, spitting at a yellow dog who was circling around below. Brocket refused to come down until the cowboy shooed the dog away. Then she jumped lightly down onto her mistress's shoulder. Blanche shifted the kitten to a more comfortable position and looked around happily. Well, what do we do now? There's plenty of time. I can only go to one more place, said the short ghost, so let's hurry. Yes, we promised Mom we'd have him back by 9:15, said the biggest ghost. No, it was 9:30, said the middle-sized ghost. As long as we're out this far, the gypsy suggested, why don't we circle back by way of Old Man Skinner's house? He has apples. The others stared at the gypsy in alarm. He's mean, the pirate explained to Blanche. He sure is, the cowboy nodded in agreement and set down his pumpkin. Old Man Skinner said we stole his apples, and we didn't. The wind blew them down, but he wouldn't believe us. That was way last year, said the gypsy. He maybe changed his mind by now, and everybody says he's got the best apples in town. I'd sure like one now. Let's go. She started walking. Betty hasn't changed, said the biggest ghost, holding back the other 2 ghosts. He hit my dog with a rock last summer just because we were cutting across the back of his lot on their way down to the creek. Yeah, Old Man Skinner's got a slingshot, and he's a good shot with it too, said the middle ghost. I've seen him hit birds with it way up on the telephone wires. He said they were eating his cherries. Oh, that was last spring, said the gypsy airily. Let's just go and call on him. Maybe he's lonely, said Blanche. She was thinking of those apples. We can say trick or treat very politely, and maybe he'll treat for once. The cowboy picked up his pumpkin. I'm game, Blanche, he said. I'll go with you, but I can tell you right now, he doesn't like kids, especially on Halloween. But he's never seen Blanche, the tall witch said. Maybe he saw her wonderful nose. Yes, said the gypsy. Let's go out there and show him Blanche's keen blue nose. Then maybe he'll give us some apples. He's got some special good ones this year. I saw them on the trees. They formed another procession. Blanche was in the lead in this bunch. She carried her broom over her shoulder, with Brockett sitting in place on the end. The road was long and twisty. Blanche was limping a little before they got there. Her feet hurt because she wasn't used to walking so far, but she didn't let on. There was a light behind the curtains of Mr. Skinner's house and smoke coming out of his chimney. They climbed onto the porch, giggling nervously. Miss Gypsy gave a brave 1, 2, 3 knock. No answer. He must be home, whispered the tall witch. He has a fire in his fireplace. They waited, then all of them pounded, noisily. At once the door opened a crack, and a thin, long nose hanging over a tight little mustache poked out at them. The cowboy raised his pumpkin, even though the candle was burned out by now. Trick or treat? He asked hopefully. At this, the door opened wider. 2 suspicious eyes glared. Halloweening, is it? Halloweening, is it? You young pests go home where you belong. I've no time for your nonsense. Please, sir, said Blanche sweetly, may we have some apples? Apples, snorted the man. He scowled at Blanche a moment, then said, Want some apples, eh? You wait right here. As soon as he disappeared, the gypsy and the tall witch nodded, as if to say, Didn't we tell you? But the pirate said, Maybe he didn't go to get apples. Maybe he went for his slingshot. Shut up, Butch, his sister whispered. He's gone down in the cellar for apples. The gypsy shook her earrings and straightened her scarf. She wasn't so sure now. I want to go home, said the smallest ghost in a trembling voice. Yes, said the biggest ghost, shakily too. We promised Mom we'd be home with him by 9:15. At that moment, Mr. Skinner returned, holding a small cardboard box filled with some smallish apples. Gee, thanks, gee, everyone said, surprised, as he handed the apples around. The apples looked red and good in the light from the door. Everybody at about the same time bit into them. Ugh, puh, they all said, spitting out. The apples were mushy and brown inside and tasted terrible. You came here yapping for apples, didn't you? Yapped Mr. Skinner. And I gave you apples, didn't I? What's the matter? Aren't they good enough for you? They were good enough last year when you came around and tried to steal them and broke all my tree limbs. No, we didn't, honest, Mr. Skinner, pleaded the biggest ghost. And who stole all my green corn and frightened my hens so they wouldn't lay? And then you come around here begging for my good apples. Well, they're all picked and sold, so you could just go home or I'll... Flash your nose at him, whispered the pirate, tugging at Blanche's skirts. Scare him. Blanche winked her nose on and off venomously, but he just snorted at her and slammed the door. Why, he wasn't even impressed, said the gypsy in fury. It's a perfectly frightening nose, too. Let's soap his windows, said the middle-sized ghost. Anybody got any soap? Too bad none of the kids carry it anymore, sighed the tall witch. It'd be good to have in some case of an emergency like this. I know, Blanche whispered. Brockett, you do something. Up on that windowsill with you and give him the you-know-what. The black cat's eyes got yellower. Softly, she leaped up to the windowsill, then stretched up onto her hind legs and scratched with her front claws up and down the screen. It sounded worse than gravel being grated on a sidewalk and squeaky chalk on a blackboard. On top of this, she let out a caterwauling yowl that tore through the night, frightful enough to make people jump out of their shoes. The door flew open and out rushed Mr. Skinner, madder than an old hornet. He had his slingshot and he meant business. Everybody turned at once and fled. He took after them down the road, but he was too angry to aim well. The stones from his slingshot spattered at their feet, but nobody was hit. On her broom, meanwhile, Blanche spiraled around his house and up to the chimney. Smoke was curling out of it. He's got a mighty cozy fire down there, she said to herself, but he won't have it for long. She landed on the steep ridge of the roof and then climbed cautiously down to the big brick chimney. Leaning her broom against it, she boosted herself up so she could blow down it. Putting a hearth fire out was a trick that Minnie Max had taught her only a week or so before, and this was Blanche's first chance to try it by herself. She took a big breath of air and blew down the chimney as hard as she could, thinking just the right words as she did this and giving each blow just the right swirl. With the third blow down, the smoke slunk back. She raised her head and took another deep gulp of fresh air and blew again. She blew again and again until her ears buzzed and her nose turned green. Down below, the smoke came out of the opened door in a great cloud. Mr. Skinner, thinking for sure his house was on fire, stopped chasing his visitors and ran back toward the porch. Blanche straddled her broom and gave a spring up into the air. Down she swooped over his head, buzzing him and laughing, but he was running too fast to see her. She caught up with the rest of the crowd on the corner of Maple Street, where they had gathered around Brockett. The gypsy was trembling so much her earrings were jingling like sleigh bells. The short ghost had torn his sheet, and the eye holes in his pillowcase were switched way around to the back of his head so he couldn't see which way he was going. Golly, breathed the cowboy as Blanche dismounted from her broom. That sure beats walking. Doesn't it have a switch either? The tallest ghost asked. Blanche smiled. No, it doesn't need a switch. Not even an engine? Asked the middle ghost. Blanche thought a minute. Well, I guess there's a sort of one. What kind of fuel do you use? The tallest ghost asked again. Well, Blanche hesitated again. The cowboy said, it doesn't need fuel, dope. It works by concentration, like her nose. Yes, I guess that's it, said Blanche. I think how high I need to fly, and then that's all there is to it. Let me try it, the pirate begged. I can concentrate. No, you don't, said his sister. You'd fall off and break your arm, just like you did on the tire swing. It only works for me, Blanche said. I've got to go home, said the smallest ghost in a muffled tone, trying to pull his pillowcase straight. So have we, the tall witch said, grabbing at her little brother. So long, Blanche. Here, I want to give her these first, said the pirate, wriggling out of her grasp. He dropped 3 sticky black jelly beans into Blanche's sack. When she tried to thank him, he shouted back, Oh, that's all right. I only like the orange kind. Blanche and Brockett soared over town again. The streets were nearly deserted, and most of the houses were dark. I can't understand why people always want to go to bed so early, just when things are beginning to get interesting, Blanche said to Brockett. If somebody were only awake, we could bring some more doorbells. A little farther on, she looked down and saw a lighted house with several cars parked along the street in front of it. Look, maybe it's a party, and they might have some extra candy and nuts. She landed expertly on the front lawn, and almost before she could ring the bell, the door was opened wide. Hello, said a man. Come on in. Oh, I thought you were the Jennings. They're late, and everyone else is here. Oh my, said a lady looking over her shoulder. It's just a little girl. And look at that cute costume. Out by yourself Halloweening, dear? Blanche nodded and winked her nose at them. Trick or treat? She asked properly. Hey, everybody, come here, said the man excitedly. Look at this. She's got a neon nose. A dozen people got up out of their chairs and came over to crowd the door. What a darling little kitty, said one lady, leaning down to pick up Brockett. Be careful, ma'am, said Blanche. She doesn't like humans very much. Listen to that, giggled the lady. She said humans just like she was a real little witch. Isn't she precious? Aren't you out pretty late by yourself? Asked another lady, looking at her watch. What will your mother say? It's almost midnight. Then Blanche remembered the flight meeting. It would be leaving sharp at midnight from Dead Man's Bluff. Excuse me, everybody, she cried out. I've got to go right now. I'm going to be late again. But they made her wait while they filled her brown paper bag with chocolate mints, salted nuts, pumpkin seeds, and pretzels. Then they made her wink her nose on and off for them just one more time. Don't fall off your broom, little witch, said one lady fondly as Blanche ran down the front steps. Afterwards, the lady peeped out of the window over the door and gave a scream. I'm positively sure I saw that little girl hop on her broom and fly away. The other people at the party roared with laughter and wouldn't believe she wasn't joking. Aloft in the late night air, Blanche wasn't laughing. She was worried. It looked as though after all her trouble in trying to get started on time, she was going to be late anyhow. As she came to Dead Man's Bluff for a landing, she could see all of the witches in the scurry lined up in flight formation. Minnie Max was pulling out her watch to show Josephine and saying triumphantly, "You see, I told you she'd be late again." Blanche settled down meekly at the end of the formation. At least they hadn't taken off yet. Scurry number 13 made a beautiful showing against the moon that Halloween night. And afterwards, they danced and sang and had refreshments up on Dead Man's Bluff. Josephine ladled out the brew. Blanche passed around the nuts, candy, pretzels, and the 3 jelly donuts carefully cut into quarters. Mighty good donuts, said the Grand Madame, looking around for more. Where did you say you got them, Blanche? Out trick-or-treating, said Blanche. That's what made me late tonight. But you meet the most interesting people that way. If you ladies think you can find time for it next Halloween, I'll take you along too. The end. Yay! You know what they say about like the cozy watches or cozy rewatches to make you feel like warm and safe and comfortable because you know what's coming? This is my cozy Halloween reread. Yay. All right, I am looking at the time. We're pretty good on time, so we do have room for the weekend forecast. And furthermore, I was looking around for a deck for my other affirmations deck. So I have the Super Attractor, but I also have the Spirit Junkie. I found it. I found it while I was looking for this. So let me know if this is your first time watching the Spooky Story Time, hearing the Blue Nose Witch. Let me know how you liked it in the chats. And also let me know if you are ready for the weekend forecast. I might do my eyeshadow with this color. What do you think? I mean, it's already on my brush, so. Maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of Evidence, which is that dark blue, and maybe a little bit of Mushroom, which is a kind of grayish silver. Thinking about it. All right. Weekend forecast coming right up. Or weekend forecast, weekend affirmation. My power lies in my peaceful presence. I'll say it again. My power lies in my peaceful presence. Which is a really good card to get. I think that's an affirmation that we're going to be saying to ourselves a lot this weekend, especially with that intense eclipse energy that I was talking about at the top of the episode. It makes a lot of sense. And if that helps you, by all means, take it. If it doesn't resonate for you, scroll on by. But if it does, take it. I hope it helps you this weekend. And have a wonderful Halloween, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I know people look forward to the spooky story time each year, and so do I. I appreciate it so much. I can't believe I've been doing this for over 4 years now. If you'd like to book a reading with me, you can do so at tarotbyhilary.com. You can also book a tapping session with me as well. And if I don't see you before then, have a very happy Halloween, a blessed Samhain, Dia de los Muertos, whatever it is that you're celebrating. And I will catch you again next week, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all so, so much for watching. Yeah, I don't know, Jenny, is this your first spooky story time? I think it might be. And you're very, very welcome. Again, the story that I read this evening was The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry. My little Halloween tradition, from my little Halloween tradition to you. All right. Have a safe Halloween, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again on Friday. So once again, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader and EFT tapping practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. Have a fabulous weekend, a happy Halloween, and a wonderful week. And I will see you again on Friday. Bye.